We are lucky to have with us Dr. Sarwat Rauf Sahiba, who is Associate Professor at Nambali University. Online with us is Ambassador Abdul Basit, who has been our High Commissioner to India and our former Ambassador to Germany. We have some other participants also online. Mr. Faisal Javed is there, and some of the discussants online and also present in this hall will participate in today's discussion. I'll begin with giving a brief introduction of SCO and briefly an overview of the recent summit held in India on 4th of July. वो दिखा सकते हैं आप? In next 10 minutes, I'll try to give you this brief introduction. Yes, next slide. Well, SCO is a Eurasian political, economic, security and defense organization which was established in 2001. It's world's largest regional organization in terms of geographic scope and population coverage. Approximately 60% of the area of Eurasia is covered by this population, and 40% of the world population is covered by this organization. Its combined GDP is around 20% of the global GDP. Its headquarters is in Beijing. Its secretariat in Beijing is headed by a Secretary General, of course, and a number of Deputy Secretary Generals, around 4 or 5, and one of them is from Pakistan, Mr. Sohail Khan. The founder countries include, apart from China and Russia, the 4 Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. So these 6 were founders of this organization, and in fact, its predecessor was Shanghai 5. Yes, next slide. It has 9 members right now. Iran was recently introduced as a member, included in the organization. Pakistan and India became members in 2017, and before them there were 6 founder members. There are 3 observers: Afghanistan, Belarus, and Mongolia. They also have 13 dialogue partners. You can see a list here. Its supreme decision-making body is Heads of State Council, which meets once a year. And the recent summit in India was a meeting of this Heads of State Council. It also has a permanent organ with the name of Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure, which is called RATS, and it's based in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Yes. The objectives of SCO, let me tell you that SCO's primary focus is on security. Well, its objectives, of course, include to strengthen political security and economic cooperation, and to confront threats emanating from terrorism, extremism, and separatism. These are the 3 words which you will see in all the documents of SCO, and RATS has been established specially to meet these threats. Then move towards a democratic and equitable international political order. This is one of the objectives: ensure joint efforts in maintaining peace, security, and stability in the region, and deepen engagements in trade, commercial, sports, tourism, etc. Well, the theme of the SCO for 2023, which was in India, was secure. Secure, the initial letters stand for S for security, E for economic development, C for connectivity, U for unity, R for respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and E for environmental protection. So all these areas were discussed during SCO's meetings in India. Well, the highlights of SCO 2023. It was held earlier this month on 4th of July. Most important thing was that it was virtual. The participants didn't go to New Delhi physically. They all participated virtually. The most important document, the outcome of the summit was New Delhi Declaration. We'll discuss it in next slide. Apart from this, there were two thematic joint statements. One was about cooperation in countering radicalization, and the second was cooperation in digital transformation. Then another important thing was during the summit was India's reservations on BRI. India did not announce any support for BRI. Rather, the document says that the interested countries supported BRI. Well, another important thing was Global Security Initiative presented by the Chinese president. It calls for political resolutions to international and regional conflicts to establish a solid security shield in the region. If you resolve all the conflicts, all the disputes in the region, of course, there would be a solid security shield. So this initiative was presented by Chinese President Xi. Well, President Xi also urged SCO members to remain vigilant against external attempts to instigate a new Cold War or camp-based confrontation. This meant that there could be efforts from outside the region to bifurcate the countries or nations between separate camps. The Russian President Putin indirectly attributed Ukraine's anti-Russian sentiment to external forces. So again, external forces were blamed. Modi highlighted the significance of connectivity, but at the same time, he stressed the need to respecting member states. ये जरा हट जाएं आप तो मैं पढ़ लूंगा. Member states' sovereignty and regional integrity. Now, you can imagine what does this mean when he says he supports connectivity, but at the same time he says there is need to respect member states' sovereignty and regional integrity. In fact, most of the Indian papers reported it that India didn't support BRI because India thinks that CPAC passes through an area which is disputed according to Indian stance, which means if it's passing through northern areas, for India, it's part of Kashmir and it's a disputed area and it shouldn't be used for CPAC or for BRI. He also criticized cross-border terrorism. In fact, indirectly, in so many words, he blamed Pakistan for cross-border terrorism. In response, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif stressed the need to fight all forms of terrorism, but asked not to use it as a cudgel for point scoring, and also emphasized the need for connectivity. So he supported the BRI and the whole connectivity process, but he also highlighted the importance of engaging Afghanistan. So these were some of the highlights. Now we'll just have a look at the New Delhi Declaration. Next. This was the main outcome of the conference. I've tried to briefly summarize the main points of the declaration, which is about, I think, 10-12 page document. Number one was the commitment of the participating countries to peaceful settlement of disputes between the countries. Number two was to counter the activities of terrorists, separatists, and extremist groups, and eliminate the conditions conducive to the spread of terrorism, In detail, this includes like terrorism financing and all such situations which can be conducive for terrorism. Then they expressed concern about the production, trafficking, and abuse of narcotic drugs and expressed intention to conduct joint drug operations. They also opposed militarization of information and communication technologies, that's ICTs. Then there were a number of paras devoted to disarmament issues, like favor strict observance of NPT, oppose unilateral expansion of global missile defense system, stand for promoting the multilateral arms control, advocate keeping outer space free of weapons, emphasize importance of BWC, which is Biological and Toxic Weapons Convention. Then they also called for full compliance of a Chemical Weapons Convention. They also expressed their support to OPCW, which is Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. They also supported an early entry into force of Protocol of Security Assurances to the Agreement on Nuclear Weapon-Free Central Asia. This was an important point, and they urged all participants to fulfill their obligations for the implementation of joint comprehensive action plan on the Iranian nuclear program. This was the agreement between the US and Iran. Next दिखाइए. Then about Afghanistan, there were a number of points. Advocate building Afghanistan as an independent, neutral, united, democratic and peaceful state, free from terrorism, war and drugs, with an inclusive government there. Stress the dignified, safe and sustainable return of Afghan refugees, and support continued efforts to assist the Afghan people in view of the evolving humanitarian situation in Afghanistan. Well, after that, there was an article about BRI, reaffirming their support for China's BRI, and then there was name of 6 countries, which means except India and Iran, and of course China is the host of BRI. So the remaining all the Central Asians, Pakistan and Russia, who noted the ongoing work to jointly implement this project, including efforts to link the construction of the Eurasian Economic Union. It was emphasized the need for inclusive reform. They asked for the implementation of the reforms in this regard. They also agreed to declare 2024 as SCO Year of Environment. And then finally, they intended to strengthen cooperation in the fields of culture, health, disaster management, tourism, sports, and science and technology. So this was just an overview of what happened in the recent summit on 4th of July. We'll now move on to our speakers for today's seminar. Dr. Sarwat Rauf is with us. As I told you, she is Associate Professor, Department of International Relations, National University of Modern Languages. She will speak about implications of the SCO Summit 23. Over to Dr. Sarwat.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, let me thank IPS for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to speak on a very pertinent issue, that is the implications of SCO 2023 on the region, entire region. So let me begin with the same theme, which has already been pointed out. Can I see my slides over there? Well, as far as the theme was concerned, this has already been explained that there are 5 points, basically 6 points, but these 6 points again derived from this acronym that is SECURE. SECURE is actually not given by any other state except India. So this term was coined back in 2018, and there are some kind of indications which India literally wanted to bring on the table. So it's related to security. Its first concern is security. Its second important concern was economy and trade, that it is entrusted in the region to boost trade and economy. Third point was indeed connectivity, that is regional connectivity. But here the connectivity in this document, that is New Delhi Declaration, one can point out that there were two themes basically: the cooperation, that was also the digital cooperation between the states, and the digital integration. So it means that India itself is focusing on the points which is actually embedded there in the SCO's charter largely. The SCO charter is not merely, saying that to secure the region merely. It is also focusing on the regional integration and connectivity between the states. I'm perhaps illiterate. It's not working. Anyway, so this was the towards the secure SCO. This was the theme basically. Now, as far as the SCO summits highlights were concerned, these are again highlighted, but let me point out some of the important areas. For example, when we learned this, that India wanted to connect with the entire region, but here the missing point is that India simultaneously is also asking that without naming any country, that there should not be any use of terrorist or the state-sponsored terrorism, and for that purpose the SCO members should be united. So this was quite clear that what India literally wanted to point out and highlight and misuse the platform, because it was already understood. And as far as its reservations on BRI were concerned, which we saw there in the New Delhi Declaration 23, again to my mind this was the old kind of pattern of India's thinking, because we all know that India was not happy even at the time of the initiation of these projects, BRI and the flagship project CPAC. So definitely Ambassador Syed Ibrahim Saab has rightly pointed out that it's the reservation on Kashmir and its stance. So, but the problem is that everybody knows that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this is for the regional integration, and regional integration, it would not be possible without solving these issues which are largely embedded there in history. So one can see that India-Pakistan's case is in like it may be unique in terms of its long history, but one can see that there were other problems between even Russia and China, but one can see the resolution of those conflicts from the platform of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So this gives us some kind of possibilities and some kind of indications are there that what would be the future. And the last point which we are time and again highlighting, that India used this platform and used this presidency quite, it was a wrong use of that seat, that it started to play the same game which it has been playing since long. Now, my other points are that what were the stances of different states. So if we just particularly look at India, so except this, one cannot find that what was the most irritating point in the entire declaration and the entire speech, sorry, of India's Prime Minister Modi. Now, as far as China was concerned, the most intriguing point was that it pointed out, President of China pointed out that countries should remain vigilant against the external attempts to start a new Cold War. It means that those countries which are involved nowadays in the region, and they are trying to use some kind of, actors for the sake of its own purposes, and they are instigating some conflicts, unnecessary conflicts within the region. So China was trying to point. As far as Russia was concerned, yes, everybody knows that Russia recently, came out of this Wagner group that appeared in Russia, and this was indeed Russia was trying to use this platform and conveying this message that such kind of such kind of happenings which is within Russia and outside Russia. For example, the Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war. So this is making Russia more resilient. So it means that Russia very intelligently use this platform. Now, while looking at Kazakhstan's stance, why I am bringing one Central Asian states as well while discussing these state stance, because it is very important, because Kazakhstan, you can see that it was neither under the influence of India, nor it was very much tilted towards any external power side. So we can see that the speech was based on this closer energy cooperation within the member states. So Pakistan very intelligently presented its case, and there was a full support of Pakistan to fight against the terrorism, and Pakistan also emphasized that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's member, they should act together. So it means that there wasn't any kind of bad taste. I mean, Pakistan was agreeing on all the points which were presented by India. So the very next point is that now the main point is that we all are worried over that will India's strategy work in future. So because this presidency of SCO is currently in the hands of India, so how it would be using this organization? To my mind, politicizing this organization would be very bad for India. Why? Because India itself is struggling hard to penetrate into the educational institutes, into the think tanks, and in the media of Central Asian states. So it would be very difficult if India start utilizing this organization or politicizing this organization, just as India did there from the platform of SAARC. So it would be bad for India. Second thing is that Shanghai Cooperation Organization states they are vividly cultivating a new type of relations. And what type of relations? It is embedded largely there into a scholarly work that was presented by Ole Weaver and Barry Buzan. And this is a very famous theory that says that the regional security complex, that says that regions have their own peculiarities, and the solutions are there for its solutions should be regional. So this is a very solid point, and nowadays there is a realization of this thing, and this theoretical framework is largely embedded even in different states' foreign policy makers' minds, that state should avoid, I mean, the global confrontation. So how to deal with it? Their solutions are largely embedded in their own regional states. So with this point, I would also like to point out that what effects it would bring on member states, because these implications are not merely for Pakistan. One can see it that these new connectivity programs which nowadays India is trying to initiate, because it is that there was a story like back in 2 to 3 years when it was pointing out that the Chabahar port, it can be used. So such kind of projects, or the connectivity projects which India is trying to bring on the table nowadays and trying to entice different states, that again it is also talking about regional connectivity. So to my mind, that this would bring distraction in the region, and which would not be good for the other members members of SCO. So China is a dominant state there in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I'm not ignoring the role of Russia, and we all saw that the Eurasian Economic Union, that is also there would be a strong partnership between BRI and EAEU. But one can see that China's role is here more important, and whosoever is deviating would be in problem. So the failure of regional forums, this is another important point which I want to bring over here, because SARC is in front of us. What is the success of SARC? It's nothing just because India's stubborn behavior. So if India start behaving like this, so it would be a failure of this regional forum again. And I think this presidency, it shows that India is a brat. I mean, let China deal with it instead of dealing with India directly. Pakistan should not deal with India directly over this matter, and that's why I said that very intelligently Pakistan presented its case there on the platform of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So regional harmony is also critical issue for India. So because India is trying to be a dominating state, not only in the region, but now there are aspirations that it would be a global power soon. So in order to understand that way, we should also see that there are interests of India as well. Now, China is more accepted and integrated in the global economy for the timing, so one can see that it is the only one power which is trying to, things are moving behind the scene, because whatever we are watching, it may not be like that, because there are some issues, because I used to find kind of narratives where it is said that China and India, see their bilateral trade, it is increasing. Yes, this is there, but one cannot ignore a military standoff, long military standoff between China and India. So keeping in view all that, I foresee that China would be the only one state which can solve these regional issues, not like as you and I think. This may be a different way, and that you can see that on most of the point China is favoring Pakistan's stance on different platforms, and it is quite on so many issues as well. So as far as the potential of Shanghai Cooperation organizations to create synergy is concerned, and it is also a right platform which is meeting the expectations of the states. So unlike SARC or other organizations, failed organizations like ECO is in front of us. I mean, dormancy shows, I'm not saying that that these are dead, but one can see that their status is dormant. As far as the other last point which I want to bring, why I'm saying that the potential of SCO is more as compared to other organizations, because recently India changed its mode of conduct of this summit. So what was the reason behind that? There are multiple reasons which India is presenting nowadays, but what was the intention? The intention was that it would be organize this on the disputed territory. So that but one can see that 11th hour they had to take this decision that no, now it would be online. But now I saw these narratives as well, where India is proclaiming that no, we were not sure about it, that whether we will be conducting it online, or they proclaim that this is just because another meeting that is of G20 which would happen there in September, so that's why we thought that one meeting is enough with all these members. But everybody knows that region was not the right place. As far as now the particular implications for Pakistan. Now, implications for other countries, implications for Pakistan. I think Pakistan should remain focused, and as it is a hub of trade, and nobody can ignore its geostrategic location, and its projects are already going on with the Central Asian republics, namely CASA 1000. Now the different organizations are supporting it. Previously, it was supported by America, but now we can see that the International Development Association, they are helping these kind of projects. Then TAPI, yes, historically speaking, someone else was supporting it, but still it is there, though there is a slow progress. But one can see that ADB is there. Then Trans-Afghan Transport Corridor, which is nowadays there in the limelight, and newspapers are full of this corridor, that the railway corridor, railroad with which we are constructing with Uzbekistan. It would connect Tirmiz and Peshawar through Kabul. So these are, some of the projects which are already going on, and I cannot see intervention of India into it except this. And these are, very feasible projects. The only thing is that we have to, pacify Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is only the one reason which is curbing us that not to proceed. And Afghanistan's precarious security situation, this is in front of us, and we know that after this America's withdrawal from Afghanistan, US forces withdrawal from Afghanistan, the situation is a bit in control. Now, while looking at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization other project, which we can see that because SCO is to implement trans-regional initiatives, so CPEC for the timing is unacceptable for India. But if we look at the economic corridors, these are not merely for India. Other economic corridors, these are to help all the countries which are participating and which are going to get benefits out of these connectivity projects. Some of the ideas for Pakistan very quickly. So multilateral diplomacy, it suits Pakistan currently, to my mind, instead of bilateral talks with India. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this has become more relevant after the US withdrawal from Afghanistan. And the solution of the economic meltdown and the security conundrum of this region, there is no other solution, available solution. And everybody knows the situation in Afghanistan, particularly during the time of America's long stay. And now we can see that security situation, though it is very difficult, but gradually it would be okay. And the other points I have already discussed. Some of the recommendations which I think are very important, because this is a very prestigious platform, and I think our voices would definitely reach to the right places. Pakistan, it still carries the image of states supporting the Afghan Taliban. So there is some of the problems, and this is a stigma for Pakistan. So we should deal with it very rationally, and we need to correct this image currently. Otherwise, countries would definitely use these platforms against us. Pakistan should not make any effort for bilateral contact with India. Now, this should be the turn of India to initiate talks first, instead of this, that we strived hard to initiate talks in different time periods, but now we should stop. As far as the further interaction among academicians are concerned, everybody, particularly in universities abroad, knows that Indian students and are very active, and they have union kind of system as well, where they can gather their students. So I think that there is a dire need that our government should focus on the academic side now, and the joint research initiatives we need to, because this is a way to initiate your soft image. And then cultural diplomacy and is another sector. The last is that tourism. There is a dire need to pay attention on these four sectors so that we can shun this notion, whatever is prevailing outside Pakistan. So we need to work on it particularly. With this, I would like to thank you all. If there is any question, so you can ask after whole session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sarwad Rauf. She was talking about implications of the SCO Summit 23. And now I'll request Ambassador Abdul Basit, our former High Commissioner to India, to tell us about growing Indo-US strategic relations and implications for the SCO. Ambassador Basit, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sahab. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim and Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Frankly speaking, the way SCO is at present, there are many bilateral, regional, and global variables are in play. And if you look at all these variables, one does not really draw any inspiration from the SCO. As I look at it, my own assessment is that if SCO continues to be fraught with bilateral disputes, conflicts, deep mistrust, I do not know how the SCO as an organization can really evolve or build itself, because regional organizations cannot be built on rickety foundations. When bilateral relations among member states are kind of seemingly in perpetual hostility, then obviously there is little room left to develop that particular organization. We have seen that in the context of SAARC. ECO is also facing the same. Now, we all know that globally, US considers China as its competitor in the years to come, and they are counterpoising India to become a bulwark against China. Their strategic partnership is evolving, growing. On the other hand, Russia is now caught in the Ukraine conflict, and it has become a pariah state as far as the Western world is concerned. Similarly, China-India relations are, in fact, they have serious disputes on the line of actual control, and the two countries are not talking to each other since the Doklam crisis in 2017. Pakistan, India have serious issues, particularly the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. Things have become more complicated post 5th August 2019. So one really doesn't know how to get out or lift the SCO out of this morass. It is always good to see such international events or conclaves taking place, and good statements are made. But at the end of the day, there are serious issues involving the SCO. Now, if you ask me, I will consider India as the biggest impediment to the growth of the SCO, because as I said earlier, India has serious problems with China. It is competing with China in different ways, and it has problems with Pakistan. And then thirdly, India is also, its position is somewhat ambivalent when it comes to Russia. though at present it is not vocal in criticizing the Russian aggression, nor is China, or for that matter, Pakistan. But the Western world, particularly the US, does expect India to take a more anti-aggression stance and to be seen as there's a power which which is committed to international principles and the UN Charter. So my own feeling is that the SCO at its present form has very limited prospects, if there is any. Accordingly, India, since the SAARC, as was said by the previous esteemed speaker, has become dormant, and India realized very well that the SAARC cannot progress so long as Pakistan-India disputes are there. Hence, they started promoting or exploring and promoting sub-regional initiatives like BIMSTEC and BBIN. Similarly, as I look at it, India's focus is more on international north-south transport corridor rather than BRI. And that difference of opinion was very much there in the statements of President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi. Similarly, we have seen how Prime Minister Modi in his statement mentioned about Chabahar port to connect South Asia with the landlocked Central Asia. On the other hand, Pakistani Prime Minister talked about Gwadar port to making it a bridge between South Asia and Central Asia. So those differences are there, and I do not know how these countries, unless they resolve their bilateral disputes, they can make any concrete contribution towards realizing the potential of SAARC, of SCO. And that is the inherent problem which I see. So this is what my thinking is, and because it is correct that both China and Russia at present are trying to pander to India, lest India become totally a protege of the US. Though they have been trying to reach out to India, but for India it will become very difficult to sustain this. The time will come when India will have to decide whether it is with the US, whether it is an active part of Quad, which is clearly against China in the Asia-Pacific region, or whether it is its interests are in kilter with regional cooperation. So that discrepancy, dichotomy will remain there for years to come, in my view. Because India at present is clearly of the view that if it is to be a counterweight to China, it is the US which can help it rather than China or Russia. It is the West which can help it to get state-of-the-art technology, especially in the defense area. So it is counting more on the US at present. Now, 10, 20 years down the road, what happens is anyone's guess. But at this stage, I do not see how the SCO can really realize its potential. Pakistan, India obviously are in a unique sui generis position. But I would not really say that it is because of India and Pakistan bilateral disputes that is kind of hobbling the Shanghai cooperation. As I said earlier, there are other issues as well, which Shanghai cooperation is facing. SARC, as I said, yes, SARC is one example where India wanted connectivity, regional connectivity, but it was Pakistan in Kathmandu in 2014, which refused India to allow overland route access to Afghanistan, because we thought that it was not in our interest. And unless India shows some flexibility on the Kashmir dispute, Pakistan could not simply allow India to use its territory for trade with Afghanistan. So connectivity, yes, as a word, it looks very nice, but at the end of the day, it is the real politic which drives states' diplomacy. And here I see very limited area. I think most of the problems at the end of the day would be resolved bilaterally. Though in the case of Pakistan and India, our positions have hardened over the years, especially since 2019. And I do not really see much bilateral space left between India and Pakistan to even talk to each other meaningfully. My own apprehension is that rather my preference would be that Pakistan and India now engage with each other behind the scenes off a stage, but through a third-party mediation. India, we all know, is averse to a third-party mediation. It would not agree to it. But be that as it may, my own feeling is that unless this time round Pakistan and India are willing, Pakistan is definitely willing, but India, if India is also willing to address the Jammu and Kashmir issue upfront, only then can perhaps we think of some progress being made in SARC as well as. But the SCO would continue to be riddled with other issues as well, because global variables directly impinge on whatever SARC SCO is doing. So the room is very limited, space is very limited, the way the world is evolving, the way we are again moving from, because the Western phrase that they would not like to decouple from the US, but de-risk its relations with China, we will see that some tensions would ramp up between China and US and Russia and the US and other Western countries, because Taiwan is another issue which we will see as to how, because US is kind of provoking China. Though China, Mr. Ambassador Masood Khalid is here, he can, he is obviously current with all those issues, and he will tell us about that as well. So the question remains that SCO is there, but it would continue to be a talking shop in my view. Even, rats, there we hardly see any go. There have been some military exercises, but not too much effect in my view. Even bilateral arrangements haven't worked. We have, for example, Pakistan, India, we signed anti-terrorism mechanism back in 2006, but to no avail. It has not been allowed to function, operate. So there are serious issues of mistrust between Pakistan, India, Pakistan, Russia, China, and India, and then Russia. In this paragraph about defense missile systems was incorporated in the Delhi Declaration at the behest of Russia. But then Russia very conveniently ignores the supply of 5 S-400 systems to India, which directly affects Pakistan. So these are hard issues which come into play, and I do not, and in Pakistan, India, this bilateral equation is important. And unless this is settled, and then China-India relationship, these two relationships are, I think, more important, and they will define the future contours of the SCO. And unless these are handled properly, gently, side by side, I do not see how the SCO can develop itself. At this point in time, I do not see any room, space that these two problematic areas can be addressed. Pakistan, we all know, has been trying even to revive SARC, but it is going nowhere. And simply issues of terrorism, extremism, separatism, they're all, areas where all these member countries differ. For us, state terrorism has become a big issue in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. For India, it is cross-border terrorism. Whereas for China, it is separatism, which is far more important than extremism. So we're all, kind of looking at the same thing, but with different perspectives. And herein lies the problem. Frankly speaking, I am not really very hopeful about the future of SCO unless these bilateral equations are at least set in motion to be resolved at some point in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Abdul Basit, for sharing with us your analysis of the situation. And now we move on to the discussants. We have with us Mr. Meher Kashif Yunus. He is Vice President of Golden Ring Economic Forum. He is also former Senior Vice President, Lahore Chamber of Commerce, and he will share with us a practitioner's perspective about Pakistan's trade with SCO countries. So, since we are getting short of time now, I'll request that within 5 minutes you conclude your remarks.
Assalamu alaikum ji. I have the habit to be precise and short. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Alim, Ya Azim, Ya Allah. Allah is the creator of all the knowledge and greatness. Very well said. Practitioner perspectives. This is new terminology for me. I'll give the startling statements without deep diving. SCO 5, 1996, started with the strategical and security purposes, then passed the phase and jumped into political bloc, and then now converting into a economic bloc. Global village and global economy romance, melting down to socio-economic regional blocks and regional strategical and political blocks. The romance is over now. The regional romance is coming upward now. The spirit of SARC, the spirit of SCO, and spirit of ECO, they are common. They are interconnected due to common purposes, objectives, and vision. To understand the socio-economic philosophy and regional trade ideas and to influence the governments, we businessmen at Lahore in 2012 started a think tank with the name of GRAP. Iran, Turkey, China, Pakistan, Russia. We have many feathers in our cap. The idea of barter trade, the idea of border market with Pakistan and Iran. We initiated the first papers to the government. Then we started pinching with the idea of single currency. Then we also asked for the common banking market. So in 2022, continuing this legacy and our framework, we started a research study of GREF countries about the trade, industry, and technology. Let me share some comparison of GREF and SCO countries. GREF, more than 40% of natural resources of the world. GREF countries, 6 trillion trade with the West and East, Far East. More than 5,000 items traded with the West and Far East of GREF countries. And if we look at the SCO, 46% of the population, or the world population, I call it the consumer market, the biggest consumer market in a single region. And then food baskets of the whole world. I can count dozen of countries who are with the food baskets. Then IT and technology parks, younger generation as compared to the other world, and the 22% of the world land mass. We picked 50 items which Pakistan can import easily to GREF and SU. And imagine what we got is $22 billion trade, which we're missing out. And if we do for 5,000, you can imagine the gain the Pakistan is going to have it. And the study is in GREF corporate office, and anyone can have that study and enjoy that study. Now let me share some other reasons not to cooperate with each other. This is the last part, the mid part of my my note. SCO, SAARC, ECO have unresolved historical conflicts. I'll call it fears, egoistic challenges, and very humbly and very carefully, I'm saying that West-driven political unrest, deep state attempts. 75 years of war zone, as compared to Australia, as compared to America, as compared to European Union. They are at peace for last 75 years. So the economic growth, they have the right to grow like that. What we need is agreement of peace, as the America, as the European Union, as the Australia, as the Far East. Surprisingly, the GREF was contacted by the few countries of SCO and GREF countries, and they asked us to give them the ideas for JVs, industrial collaborations, technologies, and the projects with special downward spiral benefits to the general population. And they call it 2.0 CPAC now. And the second, they requested us to know the practical solutions and practical attempts for people-to-people contact. Now they're online. These countries, they are thinking of economic collaborations. We call these attempts economic and economic path. And economic diplomacy and economic bloc means higher education. This is the basic foundation of people-to-people contact. The first embryonic attempt, the first embryonic action we can make. In other words, the other countries which I've talked about, they have taken these steps. Higher education and modern technology and vocational skills. The second is energy diplomacy. The third is agriculture diplomacy. The fourth is natural resources diplomacy, sharing the natural resources. And then becomes the technology. And we can do this all at the last points. We can do this all with our SCO bank consortium, already done in books, in papers, in agreements. But no one is taking those initiatives which should have been taken. Then is the SCO business councils. They already exist in the SCO. And the big houses of these countries, the big fortune companies of these countries, they are the members of this SCO Business Council. So Pakistan has to take the lead to activate this SCO Business Council. And one more surprising, when we were in Russia, we came to know that Pakistan is also the signatory of the protocol for SCO University. But nobody knows that we can, as a SCO country, as a SCO member, we can have Center of Excellence for the higher education, for the research studies in Pakistan also. At the last, I would like to say that in Russia, we visited Eurasian University. They have 500 DSCs, Doctor of Sciences, and more than 2,000 PhDs. And we are short of PhDs in our universities. Look at them, the style they are working, the importance they give to the education in single university. And imagine the whole PhDs and DSCs in Russia. Imagine the whole DSCs and PhDs in Iran. Imagine the whole number of DSCs and PhDs in China. So where are we? So education is the key to success. So with these remarks, as a practitioner perspectives, I close my remarks with the prayer that we would be having a leading role in SCO, in SARC, and in ECO. So these this is a whole family. So we have to take active initiatives in all these organizations. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Meher Kashif Yunus, for sharing some very valid points. Now we move on to our next discussant, Dr. Faisal Javed. He is Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations, Federal Urdu University of Arts, Science and Technology in Karachi. He will talk about expansion of SCO, indications and prospects. Dr. Faisal Javed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador Brar Saab. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. As you know, earlier, our speakers highlights the importance, significance of the SEO, how SEO formed, and Ambassador Brar already presented about the background of SEO. When SEO emerged, established in 2001, that time before, Eurasian states, Eastern Europe, and even Central Asian states emerged 1991. Even Russia wanted to manage these states through Commonwealth of Independence. Well, in this area, Shanghai Cooperation Organization found the gap, and the SEO is filling this gap, and also between the regions, South Asia, Central Asia, Eurasia, and Middle East, there's no any organization who connect these regions. So SCO is also filling this gap and connect to the states from Central Asia, South Asia, Eurasia. So SCO, as we know, started from 6 members in 2001 and later grew to 9 members. Its primary objective, as we know, 3 isms from extremism, terrorism, and separatism, and also included political and economic cooperation. Over the years, SU has grown significantly, boosting the 3 observer states, and right now it comprises 4 nuclear powers, 2 veto powers, and that includes the world's 2 most populated countries, along with the second largest economy, and mostly states, especially Russia, Kazakhstan, Iran, Uzbekistan, has a lot of natural sources, oil and gas. So this is the strength of members of the SEO. In 2000 addition, I'm talking about the expansion of SEO. In 2014, SEO adopted a new memorandum of obligation for procedures and rules for the admission of new members. Those countries who want to enter in SEO, wishing for membership, must be the Eurasian region. Initially, the member states decided have diplomatic ties with the SEO members, should not be under United Nations sanctions, and hold the status of dialogue partner or observers in the SEO. These conditions effectively rule out membership for Iran, India, and Pakistan due to various diplomatic and geopolitical considerations. Despite internal differences of opinion about expansion, the SU has undergone several significant enlargements in recent years. Pakistan, India joined as full members in 2017. Recently, Iran added, and Belarus will join the full membership in 2014. These expansions present both indications and prospects for the future of the organization. Firstly, with each new members, the SCO's influence and presence in the regional affairs increase, elevating its voice would be heard more loudly on the world stage. This also enhances its capabilities in ensuring regional security and stability with a strong focus on areas like the Middle East, South Asia, and Eurasia. Secondly, the inclusion of the new members open doors for greater economic cooperation and development. The organization's existing initiatives in free trade investment promotion, and trade facilitations can now expand to encompasses new market and investment opportunities offered by these member states. Additionally, Asia, Middle East, and South Asia, while Iran is already a member, Saudi Arabia is a dialogue partner, and other Arab states express interest in membership, highlighting the growing significance of the SCO in the Middle East. A significant aspect of the SCO's expansion lies in the energy resources, with its members already accounting for a substantial portion of the world's proven oil reserves, oil production, natural oil refining capacities, and natural gas reserves. If we added those Arab states who got observer status, so then further multiply its energy sources. This could shape the SCO into a potential challenge to unipolarity, aiming for a new democratic and rational international order. Moreover, SCO expansion could help balance the influence of Western powers in the region, potentially reducing financial pressure on the organization from international institutions. However, we must also consider challenges that expansion brings as the organization grows. As Ambassador Basis discussed already, there is a risk of unresolved bilateral issues and rivalries being brought into the bloc, as seen with India and Pakistan, and China and India. Maintaining cohesion within the organization becomes crucial as the focus shift from Central Asia to Middle East and South Asia. India's close ties in the Indian Ocean with China could reflect on SCO's dynamics. Furthermore, some Western scholars already criticize and show concern about the expansion. SCO more already Mr. Ambassador Basis, I partially agreed with him. More symbolic functional, lacking specific function for tangible delivery, and institutional gaps becomes paramount to prevent fragmentation and ensure organization effectiveness. I want to conclude my talk. The expansion of the SCO represents a pivotal moment in shaping regional dynamics and global politics. With the inclusion of new members, the organization stands to gain greater influence, economic opportunities, and potential. Maintaining cohesion will be essential to harness the true potential of the expanded SCO. As this dynamic process unfolds, it will undoubtedly impact the future trajectory of Asia and the global order at large. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. If you have any comments on my talk, welcome.
And Dr. Faisal Javed, thank you so much. Although there were some interruptions because of signals problem. Well, this brings us to break for brief comments and questions, if any. We have about 15 minutes. If the okay, we have Dr. Fiza online. Yes, Dr. Fiza. Is there any brief comment or any question or what?
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for the invitation. Just a small observation, which is linked to what Ambassador Abdul Basit was just saying. Yeah, I agree. Bilaterally, issues, it's a viable option to resolve issues bilaterally, but recently there is this concept of sub-regional organization, and India has experimented with it a lot. In fact, as far as I understand, India is following this -1 sort of formula. All multilateral forum where Pakistan is not present, it's very active there. So why not? Pakistan is not taking a lead and trying to establish multilateral forum without India, which would be more active, which would be, because obviously this India-Pakistan rivalry would continue to affect SARC. It has affected it badly, and SCO is going to be another victim. So why we are so active in trying to work on forums where India is present? Instead, why not work on the already established forums with the Central Asian countries or with China and others? For instance, there was this mention that there is a small little progress in TAPI because of the security situation in Afghanistan. But to my observation, this is the most peaceful we can see Afghanistan. So I don't think so. There is a need to find excuses, and we just need to be more active on those forums where India is not present, and to establish our presence at the global level without relying on the regional or SARC or SCO sort of setups. Thank you.
Reservoirs of the world's, the largest markets of the world, the population that has been talked about. And then giving the example of Europe, and where was Europe 70 years back? But they came together and they brought out that integration and cooperation. I think, in fact, for me, it is good that India is a member of SCO. It is not bad, because that is the platform where we now have almost all other members with whom we can create convergence of interest other than India. And we can counter India much more effectively on this platform. So I think this is a very effective platform, SCO, if we can put our own house in order and do our homework correct and use it to our advantage. So I just wanted to go against the tide and speak a little bit against this pessimism that is going on about SCO. I think it's an excellent organization, and we'll see it very soon in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for trying to correct the course of discussion. Well, any other question on any other brief comment? Well, yes.
Can I have a word?
Yes, Ambassador Basit.
Yeah, perhaps I gave the wrong impression in my remarks. I actually wanted to underscore the inherent discrepancies which SCO is fraught with. Uh, Such organizations do have limitations, they do have a strong potential to achieve, but then there are some limitations to them as well. Yes, Pakistan needs to augment its relations wherever it is possible, bilateral relations, and then also, as Dr. Batul mentioned, sub-regional arrangements like India is doing, BBIN or BIMSTAC. Those are all areas where Pakistan can explore opportunities for itself. And I totally agree that the SARC and SCO is neither SARC nor ECO. China would try to keep it afloat, or even, help flourish at whatever China can do. But my only point of contention was that if we are looking at SCO as a kind of an organization which will agree on sensitive issues like connectivity and sovereignty and territorial integrity, security, we have different, we are looking at these things differently. And hence, this will continue to mar SCO working as an organization. So individually, I think Pakistan has all the possibilities to explore vis-a-vis China, vis-a-vis Russia, Central Asian countries. But my own feeling is that SCO as an organization, because India will continue to, spoil the broth, so to say. And since it is getting very close to the US, things may not be as encouraging as we may like to see. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Abdul Basit, for this clarification. Now this brings us to the final stage of today's seminar. I'll request Ambassador Masood Khalid Sahab, who is chairing this session, for his remarks.
Assalamu alaikum. Well, thank you very much, first of all, IPS, for inviting me. I think it has been a good session, and we have listened to different views on how SCO is and what its potential is, or what its future is. I have a slightly different take. SCO has now completed 20 years, 2 decades. So we have to see how is it evolved in the last 2 decades. Initially, of course, this is a very informed audience here. We know that when it was conceived and launched, primary preoccupation was security, combating terrorism, extremism, separatism, which is, of course, as stated earlier, is reflected in every document of SCO. And what were the motivating factors? China's concern with ETIM, Russia's concern with, problems in Chechnya and Dagestan. And Central Asian republics, for example, there was a civil war in Tajikistan, and there were other issues emanating from Afghanistan and the perceived, spillover of terrorism. So these were the motivating factors and the Shanghai 5 and then 2001 Shanghai, this SCO was formed. Now, if you look at 3 organizations, because I think this has been a good discussion, but I was thinking that in the region, 3 organizations, multilateral organizations, are relevant for us. Correct me if I'm wrong. One is SARC, the other is ECO, and the third is SCO. Now, if you do a layman's analysis of these 3 organizations, you'll find SARC totally dysfunctional. It's not going anywhere. ECO is practically moribund. It's also dormant. While we have SCO, which has gained strength and evolving, and now, focusing more on regional cooperation, not to the exclusion of security and, security related aspects. So both are moving simultaneously. I had a longish thing, but because of the paucity of time, I think Ambassador Brar gave a very good overview of what's it. So I will skip these points, but I think certain fillers. Now I don't know whether this is an up-to-date figure, but maybe 2-3 years ago, of course, SCO has established various working groups. And there are 4 clusters or 4 pillars of SCO: political, security, economic, cultural. And under these 4 pillars, SCO operates. So they have established various working groups. There are about 29 cooperation mechanisms and 36 expert groups. And this may be slightly old figure, so one can perhaps check. And of course, we see that they have sectoral ministerial meetings, like for example, defense ministers meeting, joint exercises, etc. And they have also established a SCO contact group on Afghanistan. I don't know what it's doing now, but there is a contact group on Afghanistan. Now, the very fact that starting from 8 countries, now we have 9 members. Addition of Iran has added a new dynamic in this regional architecture which is evolving. Security driven as well as development driven, connectivity driven. So these are the 3 trends in SCO. Now, look at the list of the dialogue partners, observers, and one can make one's own conclusion that there is great interest. And look at the geographical spread. I think Cambodia is also there. Then we have Sri Lanka, and then we have other countries. If I'm not wrong, Saudi Arabia is also there, UAE. So why all these countries are interested in this organization? Because if you look at the trend of foreign policies of most of the countries these days, because of this contest between the United States and China, which is the most consequential competition or rivalry or contest affecting all of us, affecting all regions, sub-regions. So countries are hedging. They don't want to choose sides. Look at the joint statement which has been issued in Delhi, talking of multipolarity, rejecting unilateralism, rejecting protectionism, basically saying that we are no longer, accepting the alleged hegemony of the West led by the United States. This is the very clear message which has been given. So the very fact that so many countries are now interested to join in one capacity or the other this organization, I'm sure that it indicates that there is some potential and there is some future. Number 2, all multilateral organizations are affected in one way or the other by this geopolitical permutations and contest between United States and China. South Asia, this region is different. We are not part of European Union. We are not part of OSCE. Or we are not part of ASEAN. They are more organized clubs, blocks. Here, things are evolving. There are differences. Ambassador Bassett rightly pointed out the differences and the disputes. Disputes between India and Pakistan, disputes between US and China, of course, China and India. And what about Central Asian countries? Amongst themselves, even 2 months ago, I think this Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan or Uzbekistan, they were fighting on this water issues. They have their own dispute, but that does not mean that they are not keen to promote economic cooperation, economic linkages. and trade and their access to outside world. Now, what does this statement says? I have 5 minutes? Yes. Okay. What does this statement says? Delhi statement. Please keep in mind, because there are analysts sitting here, there are researchers. You can do your further research. It says Central Asia is the core of SCO for etc. regional peace, stability. So SCO is pivoting around Central Asia. And who is driving this? China, Russia, which are now practically in a strategic alliance against the United States because of, various factors. So China, heavyweights are there. China, India, Russia. And Central Asian republics, because Kars is traditionally a backyard of Russia, while Russia and China are now together on so many platforms, strategically speaking, they want to steer this process of SCO forward and link it up with Eurasian Economic Union, which is a Russian baby. So the trend is towards connectivity, interface regionally, regional cooperation. Heartland, exactly. Okay, so disputes will remain there. Basically, this organization, it's an accepted principle that bilateral issues will not be raised. Otherwise, this organization will not work. It will become dysfunctional. So this has been the trend. I mean, this is the accepted principle, sorry. What unites them? Of course, security. And they are also talking of new type of international relations. What is new type of international relations? Not well defined. But it indicates that they're talking of forming an arc of like-minded countries, regional countries in Central Asia, China, Iran. Turkey is also there. Turkey may also file a paper for becoming full member. All important countries of the core region and the periphery are there. So basically, it's a new architecture which is evolving, and it will take time, and it is gaining strength. Professor Saab, he rightly mentioned that there is an opportunity for Pakistan. We are talking now of geoeconomics because we have realized that overemphasis on geopolitics or security did not give us the dividends we wanted. Time is, you have to be economically strong. If you are economically strong, then you will have recognition in the world. Why is India ahead of us? I will not elaborate. There will be challenges, there will be pitfalls, but I think we should remain engaged and, in my view, proactively engaged. We were the first candidate country to apply for membership in SCO. We were observer from 2005. It took us 12 years to become a member. And I think we applied for membership in 2010. But 12 years it took, and Iran has been given membership, I think, in 2 years. And if it were not for China, we would not have got this membership. So our presence in SCO also is supportive of China's endeavor to give this organization some shape and strength. China would not want Pakistan to disengage with this organization, and vice versa. So it works both ways. Now another point is that Yes, there are the major impediment, in my view, other than the disputes, of course, but because countries are interested in connectivity. And look at about 20 years ago, Central Asian republics were not ready to look at Pakistan because of what I think was said in, I think, your president, perceived alignment or whatever with Taliban. They were wary of terrorism spilling over into new Central Asian republics. That is no longer so. You see Tajikistan, you see Uzbekistan, you see Kazakhstan now teaming up with Pakistan for connectivity routes. Uzbekistan is now working with Pakistan on this railway connectivity through Afghanistan. We have started limited trade with Kazakhstan overland. So this is a beginning. And they are looking towards our ports of Gwadar and Karachi for their exports. India is a misfit in this organization. Yes, because of its policies, and I agree. Now, if you look at India's policy, I mean, I'm not going into this policy debate as to right or wrong. India will not, whether it will serve India's interest to remain in the organization and be a spoiler, or later on India decides to revisit its policy, I don't know. Nobody can predict. For the time being, it's a strategic partner of the United States, and it's playing its role as such. But please keep in mind that traditionally India has maintained good relations with Russia and with all Central Asian republics, and it has quite a good ingress in the region already compared to us. So whether India will abdicate, will withdraw, or disengage with SCO, or remain a spoiler, this is a question which is open to analysis. But I don't know this self-serving agenda to undermine Pakistan's interest in the organization. I don't think it has many buyers now. It's all a propaganda against Pakistan on account of terrorism, which India is doing. Let them do. But this Central Asian republics are not, yes, for form's sake, you have to refer in language to these formulations. Pakistan also agreed. But my point is that Central Asian republics want to leave that aspect a little behind when dealing with Pakistan. They are more interested in trade and connectivity and this and that. So that is the future as far as SCO is concerned. We had quite a bit of drill before becoming a member. There were 34 treaties which Pakistan had to ratify. That was a prerequisite for our membership. India also did the same, 34 treaties. And if we had not ratified those 34 treaties, we were not entitled to become a member. So it has been quite a long struggle that way. Now that we are inside the organization, I think we should leverage our relations with China, improvement in relations with Russia, and more importantly, CPAC to promote, bilateral as well as multilateral linkages within, by remaining a proactive member of the organization. Another important point is that Pakistan's role as a hedge against terrorism has also enhanced our profile within Central Asia. Our role in the context of Afghanistan and as a combatant against terrorism has had good effect. It has improved our standing in Central Asian republics, and these are the leverages which Pakistan should, I think, use. Bottom line, Pakistan has to focus on its own region. Those countries which are far away in Pacific, they have already withdrawn. They can come back. But those who are your next door neighbors and your friends or with whom you are trying to improve your relations, they will remain there. And they will impact the regional environment, security environment and development environment in this region, irrespective of what India does or does not do. In my view, China's influence in the region will grow, and SCO is emerging as a new security and development oriented architecture, and Pakistan's diplomacy has to take into account these very fast changes which are taking place. And I think the last point is that Pakistan faces a lot of challenges, security challenges, development related challenges. And I think we have very few choices before us in terms of our outreach, in terms of gaining diplomatic and strategic space, which our relations with China provide, which CPEC provides, and with our membership of SCO provides. Thank you very much. And I wish to thank all these speakers and participants and Ambassador Brar for making this discussion hopefully useful and productive. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much. With the chair's remarks, we come to the last item on our agenda, a vote of thanks by Dr. Fakhrul Islam, who is our Director of Research and Outreach. Dr. Saf.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It's my obligation to extend my thanks to all the excellencies, especially the session chair, Ambassador Masood Khalid Sahib, Ambassador Abdul Basit Sahib, and Ambassador Ebrar Hussain Sahib, because they gave us a very clear picture of the subject and their insight. Thanks are also due for other resource persons, especially Dr. Sarwat Rauf Sahiba, Dr. Faisal Javed, Dr. Kashif Yunus Meher Saab, Dr. Azhar Sahib, and for the presence of a number of ladies and gentlemen in this hall and online. I especially welcome Dr. Iqbal Khalil Sahib, Chairman of Institute of Regional Studies, Peshawar, for gracing the occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, fortunately, there emerged two schools of thoughts during this seminar. One was optimistic, the other was giving you another picture, other dimension of the picture, and it's good for a meaningful discourse and dialogue that two schools of thoughts come forward and finally they agree on certain points. So as the statistics given by Ambassador Ebrar Hussain Sahib and Kashif Meher Sahib, that statistics show that most of the habitable world is part of SCO. And to borrow the words of Kashif Yunus Meher again, that SCO is the biggest consumer market. So that is the importance of SCO. In my opinion, there are some achievements on part of SCO, but there are some serious challenges ahead. And there is no bar on dreaming about the future of this, organization, and we are justified to do that. But we should keep in mind that all international organizations pass through the same phenomena, that the member states have their own interests. And the interest of one member state may not coincide and may not match with the interest of another. So this challenge will remain, but I'm really thankful to all the resource persons who enlighten us. Ladies and gentlemen, Institute of Policy Studies, besides other interventions, strives for raising awareness and comprehension about international issues, and that was part of that exercise. And we not only hold seminars on these issues, but also conduct very serious research, which is disseminated in the shape of specialized reports. The research is also published in our journal, Policy Perspective. Books are also produced, and all the other material is disseminated through the social media outlets and platforms. So thank you again. With this, we come to the end of this seminar. Allah Hafiz.